All right, so we're going to wrap up this Sicha hopefully today. You never know our pace. Sometimes we get schlepped on, but I have another Sicha ready to go. And then we're going to start in on a little Chanukah journey. So we'll do a few related Sichas, B'ezrat Hashem. But let's conclude this one that we're dealing with right now. Just a quick overview of the whole thing. We came up finally with these three different opinions of the miracle of Chanukah. The quantity of the oil, the quality of the oil, and then the Rebbe's Chiddush, which was that you have this concept of Nimna HaNimnoyos, which we said was the oil was natural oil, but it was burning and it was simultaneously not being consumed. And we said the Chiddush of this one is that you could see the miracle happening the whole time. If there was an abundance of extra oil being made, we said you would have been able to see the miracle only at the instant that it happened. And then an onlooker would come in and watch the menorah burning. They would see no miracle. But there was a miracle in the beginning. When you have a miraculous change in the quality of the oil, the miracle would have also only happened in the beginning, but an onlooker would see that there's a miracle that took place. Thank you, sir.
Sugar if you need it.
Okay. What's that? Yeah, you would have seen that the miracle took place. Why? Because the oil's burning slower. So even though, the miracle only happened once, but the imprint of the miracle is so to speak, seen throughout. And then in the Rebbe's Chiddush is that you can see the miracle every second because the oil's constantly being consumed and not being consumed. Everyone who's going to see that is going to see a miracle, not that took place before, the miracle's happening right now. And we said this kind of beautiful vort yesterday, how we translate that into Avodas Hashem, and therefore why it's also specifically a Chanukah miracle, the way the Rebbe explained how the miracle was. Because we said in our own lives, we also have our miracle and our nature, right? Thank you, Yaakov.
Uh-huh.
The miracle in a person is two qualities of Kabbalah soul and Mesiras Nefesh, the ability to go beyond our nature. And our nature is our regular mind, rationale, and the emotions which follow. And we said that the regular Jew, like a tzaddik, or in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, were intended to serve Hashem with our mind and our heart, because it's part of the birurim, is that we do things al pi teva, because we're trying to elevate the teva, and there's nothing wrong with the Jew serving God in a natural way, because this is what he's asking of us. And the only thing is what? All of our natural processes, to make them Jewish and effective in that they are going to ultimately elevate the nature, they have to start off with a nice of a nishma. So in the beginning of the day, when we say Shema, we close our eyes and have Mesiras Nefesh, we accept upon ourselves that we're doing everything because of Kabbalah soul and Mesiras Nefesh, but then we go about our day acting naturally as Hashem designed it, because he wants us to use our mind and our heart. So therefore, when things are going well, or you're a tzaddik, etc. So it's sufficient that you took on this Kabbalah soul in the beginning of the day, and that the rest of your day, it has enough of an imprint on your regular natural life that it keeps you from veering left or right. You're not going to allow your intellect to all of a sudden bubble over, and therefore you're going to wind up doing something where your intellect takes you away from Torah. What's the safeguard for that? You gave over your soul in Shema in the morning, and you sort of protect yourself from that. However, in the times of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash or Gullus, or if you're not a tzaddik, then you have to worry that your natural progress in the world is being dwarfed out by difficulties, as they say, from inside and outside. In other words, the outside world is so filled with crazy ideas and confusion. It also goes into the inside world of crazy ideas and confusion. And before you know it, there's a likelihood that your mind and your heart are going to get you all astray. And there's sort of people coming after you and trying to stop you from doing Torah mitzvahs. Chas v'sholom, but like we see. And therefore, the Mesiras Nefesh that you took on in the middle of the day, in the beginning of the day, it has to stay strong with you, and an imprint of it has to be felt throughout your day in order to really keep you from falling. Because if you don't experience that sort of safeguard of Mesiras Nefesh at every point during your journey through the day, you are likely going to fall off. And therefore, this is likened to the miracle of the Chanukah candles, where what? Like the quality of the oil was miraculous. In other words, the miracle took place in the morning, but an onlooker will see the continuation of this miracle anytime they're going to walk in. They see the imprint, it's visible. The imprint of the miracle or of the Mesiras Nefesh in the morning is still visible the whole day long because it's burning down slower, etc. Right? And therefore, when the world is dark, you're going to need that visible Mesiras Nefesh at every turn to make sure your mind and heart do not go astray. However, God forbid, in a time of like full-blown war, that's just regular gullus, right? When the idea is that you're still attempting to serve Hashem in a natural way with your mind and heart, you just need these reserves of Mesiras Nefesh to safeguard them at every turn. But when there's war, and we actually, as we said yesterday, we can literally see the reality of this, that all of a sudden you're not serving Hashem the way you were before. They take you from your job, they take you from your family. You can't serve Hashem in your normal way of going around and refining the world around you. You're at war. It's a completely different scenario, which means that your MO, your modus operandi is lechatchila Mesiras Nefesh, right? You don't, your mind and your heart have to be like tucked away, and you have to see the miracle at every second. And this is the Rebbe's chiddush of Chanukah, is that an onlooker doesn't just see the effects of the miracle, or in the worst case scenario, doesn't even see the effects of the miracle, but he actually sees the miracle at every second, which in translation to Avodas Hashem is because we're at war with the Greeks, and this is like an intense battleground, we have to actually change our Avodah to be Mesiras Nefesh all day long, in a continuous state of Mesiras Nefesh. And that's a review from yesterday. Any questions on any of that?
Rabbi, was the Greeks the most dangerous to us because they were sort of allowing us this, but they were denying us the essential thing, which made them the greatest adversary?
Look, let's not compare our enemies here. They're all pretty bad. But the Greeks had the union of the Greeks is that they were unique in the sense that they during the times of the temple, essentially, they already started to weaken our resolve and so forth. Like whatever, the concept of the Greek is well known, that they contaminated the mind and they sort of distorted the Torah. Whatever, the union of assimilation and so forth, whatever it is, the Greeks were not good. And in that time, it's symbolized like a total warfare, which required us to take a completely different turn into a warfare on our own, again, which is a different mode of service, which is Mesiras Nefesh.
Thank you.
Going into page 203, chapter 9. Let's see, we're going to finish it up in a second here. So now we can understand why Chanukah, specifically the miracle, was in a way of nimna hanimnoyos, right? It had this unique principle of burning and not burning at the same time. In other words, together with the fact that the Rebbe beautifully and brilliantly explained a new form of miracle, which negates all the problems in halacha that any Jew for the last 2,000 years was able to figure out, right? And you have to understand like what's going on here. There was like issues in our explanation of what happened on Chanukah halachically, to the point that either way you turned, we didn't have a good answer for it. The Rebbe came up with mamish something amazing, where he explained the Chanukah miracle in a brand new way that no one's ever seen before, showed that it's a greater miracle than we thought it was, and got us all out of all the halachic issues that we had before. And then he comes now and he's explaining that, and Dafka had to be like that on Chanukah because of what Chanukah represents. A miracle of this nature was totally required. It's like, boop, it's almost like he knew before he started looking into this, and like he just revealed it to us at the end of the days. It's a little bit exciting for those Rebbe fans. In any case, he says, why did there have to be such a miracle of a nes chadash, something that's never been seen before, where the miracle happens at every second, unlike the other versions of the miracle, as we said? This is going to answer your question, Yaakov. This is what was necessary for the Jewish service at that particular time, right? Because of the intense darkness. Because of the intense darkness of the Greek, particularly, where he explains to you, like what we say in the Alanisim, starting tomorrow night, what was their Indian, as we remind ourselves every year since then? They wanted us to forget our Torah and remove us from the Chukei Ritzonecha, which there's many words ink spilled on these words, but essentially, they wanted us to forget not the Torah, but that it was your Torah. the godliness of the Torah. And they didn't want to forget all the mitzvahs, not the ones that made sense, but only the chukei ritzonecha, the like irrational. In other words, their Indian was to remove the Kabbalah soul, right? To remove the uniqueness and the specialness and our interest of keeping the mitzvah. In other words, they were trying to remove that miracle inside of us, right? What was the part that bothered them? Not the rational part of the Jew. They were all about it, in fact. To this day, you go and you see Hebrew letters and Greek letters on every stupid university, right? But what their issue was the miracle inside the Jew. That it's God's Torah. Yes, we're intelligent and we're the smartest, but it's because we accept the Torah from heaven. And yes, we do wise and discerning deeds, but it's because they're chukim and they come from heaven and they don't make any sense. That was the part they wanted to remove. And therefore, the miracle of Chanukah was, we're going to put this miracle in your face every second, and we're going to change our whole avoda, that the entire service of a Jew is miracle all day long, right? And the intellectual service, which previous to the Greeks was totally part of our MO, we put that on the side, and we're saying we're going to go all Mesiras Nefesh all in now. Forget your intellect. Therefore, the Jewish people needed Mesiras Nefesh Geluya, open and revealed Mesiras Nefesh, which is basically putting our miracle first. And what is that? We saw the miracle that happened as a result of our avoda. Chalashim keneged giborim, the weak were able to overcome the mighty, right? Kedei lilachem b'choshech. And the reason we had to go into this Mesiras Nefesh, where we put ourselves in a situation of sacrificing our lives in a way which made no sense, taking on the entire superpower of the day with like a handful of rabbis and beards and swords. It was because this Mesiras Nefesh essentially was a response to, you think everything has to be rational? We'll show you rational, right? And we went into to fight against this darkness. We just like walked around like we own the place. We're going to make miracles. And therefore, since we conducted ourselves in this way where we went on full-time Mesiras Nefesh and put the Seichel entirely aside, this caused that Hashem responded in kind. He gave us a miracle where the miracle was continuous and overshining the natural part. Like he says, the pasuk where it says "V'Hashem yegiach hashki," that there's a pasuk that says Hashem lit up my darkness, and it's known that the Indian of V'Hashem with an extra vav is that it's even higher than the Shem Havaya. In other words, it's something totally supernatural, like a Yom Kippur level, which goes above the most. Shem Havaya sheme'al lishtalshlus asher dafka hi yegiach hashki. That level of the Shem Havaya and the Havaya, which is even a higher level of Havaya, this specifically, which is above the ishtalshlus, has the ability to light up the darkness and to turn the darkness of the gullus into light. And therefore, Hashem, so to speak, responded to our bringing the miracle out of ourselves, that with the nace of the jar of oil. It was sitting there with the seal of the Kohen Gadol, which, what does the seal of the Kohen Gadol represent? The seal of the Kohen Gadol represents, of course, this notion that it's untouchable, which means that all the tuma of the Greeks, which is basically like even the pinnacle of the human mind, has no grasp or reach to this level of the Jew inside, which is our Mesiras Nefesh, our emunah, our connection with Hashem, which is totally super rational. So this is what Hashem said, you're going to bring that out and fight this darkness with a Mesiras Nefesh. I'm going to respond in kind and show you a jar of oil, which is untouchable by the Greek dirty hands. In other words, by the mind. And the pinnacle of the mind, it can never reach this because it's something totally beyond the mind. And this is like the Shem Havaya, which is above the Seder Ishtalshlus. Hashem showed us this in a manifestation in physical form by an untouchable, uncontaminatable jar of oil. What is oil? Oil is generally known to be wisdom, but there's a wisdom which is beyond human wisdom. And that's the Indian of Atzmut Hamatzil Shelamayla Mikol Ishtalshlus Dagamri, the essence of Hashem, which is completely beyond all the chain-like descent of the world. And so just like the finding of the jar of oil represented this untouchable level of Kedusha, so too the result from that oil was a miracle with a constant state of miraculousness overshining the nature at every turn. And so we see that the Chanukah, in other words, now the Rebbe explains, not only halachically does this version of the miracle explain away all of the halachic difficulties, but also it's exactly what Chanukah had to serve, right? Because the miracle that we received from Hashem was a reaction to the avoda that we gave Hashem, and the avoda was exactly that. We jumped up into the untouchable, beyond wisdom in ourselves, and also we put our miracle on the front line before our intellect. And so those two miracles, finding the oil and the continuous lighting of it, was God's response to that. And then he concludes with a Yud Tes Kislev word, right? Lefize Yuvan HaKeshesh Ben Kol HaAmr Lebein Chag HaSheni Shebechodesh Kislev. You can understand the connection also to the other great Chag of this month, Yud Tes Kislev, Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus, because in the Kufa of this Choshek of Ikvus of the Mashiach. In other words, it's hard to say the Greeks were the worst enemy, because maybe even now, we have worse enemies. In other words, the darkness and the end of days, with what they call the footsteps of Mashiach, is also in time and also in level and quantity and quality and everything else we said. It's like the darkest of all times. And that's why, of course, Chassidus was revealed at this time. What does Chassidus do? It is the oil of the Torah, which taps into our Yechida, which is that aspect of ourselves which is beyond nature, and the aspects of ourselves which is able to override the natural world. And so therefore, these two holidays are associated with each other. It's almost like Hanukkah was sitting there waiting to tell you there's going to be another Hanukkah miracle that's going to come out when the darkness really kicks up. And so he says, and unfortunately, the days of Ikvus Sicha, when the darkness gets stronger every day, Dafka, then there was a need to reveal the Shemen of the Torah, the Penimius of the Torah, Razin, the Razin, which, as we said, is the Yechida of the Torah, which reveals the Yechida of the Yid. And it should be in such a way, that this wellspring of Chassidus should spread outward. Dafka, this will cause v'Hashem yagiach hashki. In other words, this is the way we have to conduct ourselves in order to receive the miracle of Mashiach. This is what's required. In other words, this is not just a nice drush on what happened during Hanukkah. Rebbe is telling us that the darkness of the world in our time is like that. And therefore, you can't be a Jew who's going to go around, so to speak, acting rationally, basing things on how it makes sense to you. If you notice, like the whole sheet of the Rebbe is to prepare people to organize their lives in such a way that they lechatchila riber. In fact, there's a phrase that the Rebbe coined in order to just drive this idea home, that we're going to just do things lechatchila in a way that doesn't make any sense to the human mind. So many, the whole concept of shlichus, for example. Take yourself and go move to some godforsaken country and make it so it's not godforsaken. What am I going to eat? How am I going to educate my children? We take this as though it's somewhat normal because it's working, and it worked, but it's like an insane way to be Jewish. And what's the proof? No one ever did this before, right? This whole idea, people, I get this question every day, but Rabbi, shouldn't I get a job before I start looking for a wife? I mean, it sounds pretty rational. Everybody says, no, stay in yeshiva, mamash learn Chassidus, get married, and then you'll figure it out. But, how about a little Hanukkah? But, right? We want to see the miracle has to come out of you first. It has to override all of your rational concerns, because we're in a time of war. And when you're in a time of war, you're not sitting in your shop doing business. You're in Syria, mamish, in your uniform with gun. It's not a regular time, right? And so the Rebbe is saying that the only way that I'm going to convince you of this, you're not going to listen to me if I sit here and tell you, go on shlichus and leave the country and start a life in the middle of nowhere. You're not going to believe me if I tell you, just don't worry about your future, just sit in yeshiva and get married. It sounds crazy. So what I'll do for you is I'll teach you Chassidus for 40 years, and I'll give you mamish the Penimius at Torah. You can look at it yourself. You come to your own conclusion that the best way of acting right now is to reveal my yechida and mamish live a life based on Chassidus, right? He's not just giving orders. The whole beauty of the way Chassidus works is that it leaks into us, and it even makes sense to be crazy, right? Shtus to kedusha. And this causes the geula to come, right? That even this dark galus will v'layla kiyom ya'ir. Night will shine like day, and the choshech of the galus will turn over into light, and that will be bakar of mamish. Wow. This Sicha from 1966 and 1975. Okay, we still have some time, or we're out of time? So let me pass these around. Oh, you have a question?
probably missed it. Does he give any like specific advice on avoda to reveal the Yechida? Or is he kind of just saying like,
No, Chassidus, learning Chassidus is the avoda to reveal the Yechida. And again, like you're like, well, what do I do exactly? I'm telling you, there's 5 parts of the Torah. I saw a few guys had the Kuntrus in Yano Shel Torah Chassidus out on their talis bags, which makes me happy. But over there, it explains that there's 5 parts of the Torah. You have your Mikra, your Mishnah, Talmud, Kabbalah, and Chassidus, right? And Chassidus is the Yechida of the Torah. So when you learn Mikra, it accesses your Nefesh. When you learn Mishnah, your Ruach. When you learn Gemara, your Neshama. When you learn Kabbalah, your Chaya. And when you learn Chassidus, it tickles the Yechida. That's what it does. So in other words, the avoda to bring out your Yechida. This is why Chabad Chassidus was literally given to, I told you just a few minutes ago, we think Chabad Chassidus is this old thing that the Alter Rebbe brought out the Tanya, and people have been learning Chassidus for years. The Mittler Rebbe, I have to tell you that all the books that we have on our shelves came to print by the Rebbe. There was very, very few actual things to learn that the Chassidim had in their hands. They were like written manuscripts and sparse and scarce. This like outpouring of Chassidus books that they're printed, and you can find them in this happened after 1951. So the whole idea is that these teachings came to us is because these teachings were required in the last generation. When you read them, your Yechida is triggered. And like things will follow from there. What happens when your Yechida is triggered? You become a Chassid, first of all. Once your Yechida is triggered, you become a Chassid, you start doing what the Rebbe says. Instead of what you say, you do what the Rebbe says. L'mashal, there's a Seder in Yeshiva. And I maybe want to sit and learn Ayin Beis, but the Seder says you come 1:30. So you do it. Mazel tov. It's called Kabbalah Soul. Your whole life, you start to do things because the Rebbe said, not because you said. That whole Seder of Avodah is crazy because the Rebbe is going to soon say things you're not even going to believe. Like, what am I going to be doing in China? We have a guy who is sitting in Japan right now. He's on Shlichus. He was a bacher here. He's sitting in Japan. What's he doing in Japan? How did he wind up there? He learned Chassidus. You understand? Once you learn Chassidus, your Yechida comes out. All of a sudden, you have a Rebbe. The Rebbe tells you stuff. You do it. It's the avoda is very clear. You know. So again, it's called Limud Chassidus and Darech Chassidus. When we say Kasiv Chasima Tova for a good new year in Chassidus, right? I'm sure you heard this being said on Yutes Kislev. I hope you did. We say a phrase, and it's also written in the first page of the Yom Yom, etc. They should be written and sealed for a good year of learning Chassidus and the ways of Chassidus. So the ways of Chassidus is like the mitzvahs to the Torah. There's a new Torah, and there's a new set of mitzvahs, so to speak, that comes out with this. And those are the ways of Chassidim, the conduct of Chassidim. So that package together puts you into this situation where your Yechida is a light. For example, if someone says, Ein li ela Torah, afilu Torah ein lo. Someone says, I don't want to do mitzvahs, I'm really interested in this Torah. Guess what? You don't have any Torah either. You don't understand the Torah. If the Torah doesn't bring you to do the mitzvahs, you don't actually understand the Torah. And the same is true in Torah Chassidus. If the Torah Chassidus doesn't bring you to do mifsuim, and it doesn't bring you to follow the hanhagas, specific hanhagas that were detailed by the Rebbe, the next thing we're going to read is why the menorah is straight instead of curved. So many little things, there's hanhagas of the Rebbe, then you don't understand the Torah of Chassidus either. You can't just take this as an intellectual situation where Ein li ela Torah, right? I just want to learn the Torah. No, if you don't realize that this Torah comes with horas, lessons, takanas, chitas, Rambam, then you're not getting it because it's based on Kabbalah Soul. That's the way you sort of hatch the Yechida to come out. And once your Yechida is out, you're in good shape. You're ready to battle the Greeks. Any other questions? I don't think we're going to get to this today. David, you're staying Yeshiva. Get married from there. We've sorted a few things out today, some important matters. Let's see, what time we got here? Yeah, well, we have 4 minutes. So we have one more question. Who's got a question? Let's do a round of Q&A. The Shemin in the menorah?
Yeah, the wheel of the menorah represents Rus Belieba. Rebbe Shalom explains the axis is Usonis Kesser. Whereas the Shemin Yored al Zakon, Shemin goes down in the vid, that represents the tshuva, which accesses Pinius. Yes, sir.
He's talking about the shemen of the menorah of Chanukah,
No, just
of the Mikdash.
so there's a difference of Hanukkah. Now the shemen is like it's accessing the Pinius, not the Chitzonius. Because the Darech it's only Rus Teriba, which is the Chitzonius.
In other words, the shemen of the menorah is the Chitzonius and Riusa Deliva, but the shemen of Chanukah, you're saying?
No, the shemen that goes down.
Shemen of the shemen of Mishcha.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. The one that sanctifies everything.
The truth is, in our 1 minute left, there's a big difference in the when Chanukah comes into the situation, it sort of pulls like a fancy one. Just in short, because it says that the Chanukah is connected with the chutzah, right? You put it on the left side of the door, and you put it to the pub, the Reshus HaRabim. He says, where do we have another example of affecting Reshus HaRabim? He says, really, it's the need of mitzvahs lo saseh. Because the Reshus HaRabim is another way of saying the Gimel Klippas HaTameis. And regular Jew in his regular daily life, doing positive mitzvahs, you don't touch any of that. Because you only deal with Klippas Noga, because that's what you can elevate. How do you elevate Gimel Klippas HaTameis? By not doing something. And when you don't eat that Gimel Klippas HaTameis thing that you didn't eat and you did a mitzvah with it, you can get to the lowest parts of the world, not with the positive mitzvahs, but with the negative mitzvahs, right? He says, but the problem is there's no kli. You can't make a kli. The kli is to not do, right? But the chiddush of the Chanukah menorah, which I think maybe it's also a chiddush over here. Maybe I don't know, but one could say maybe a yesh lomar that we're just saying about the chasaron in the oil is that it's madlik and it goes up, and therefore it's connected to the chitzonius as opposed to the shemen hamishcha, which comes down. But that's the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash, which had its limitations like a positive mitzvah because there's only 7 in shaita di shtalshlus. But the menorah of Chanukah, it also has to do with the outside. And it also has to do with the left side, which is the need of Gimel Klippas HaTameis, but it's a positive mitzvah. It's the only one, in fact. The Rebbe has a whole conversation about this. The only positive mitzvah is mitzvah the Rabbanin, because the Rabbanin even got deeper than the Deraisa, that you can actually do an action and make a kli and simultaneously elevate the furthest klippas. So one could argue that's the need of the Shemen HaMishcha, that you can bring it all the way down into the lowest places. Yes, the Shemen of the menorah of the Beis Hamikdash couldn't do it, but let's hope and pray the Shemen of the Chanukah menorah can do it. Take of me ad mamish. All right, we'll start next time. Okay. Thank you.